open it up to public comment. Is there anyone in the room wanting to make public comment at this time? Mr. Cobb?
Okay, John Cobb, Lemoyne. So as we have a new board now, right? So it's a new year. So let me just kind of talk about the past for a moment. The Cumberland County Election Integrity Task Force came about in 2021, and we started participating in your elections. And at that point in time, we also asked to talk to the commissioners. And at that, approximately in that period, the attorney said, hey, you really shouldn't be meeting with this civic group privately or in your offices. Or
I know I met with you.
yeah, no, you did. Yes, Gene, you did, but there has never been another meeting since, right? And I have heard in this room that, oh no, we have been advised, well, maybe it was via email. We have been advised by the attorney not to meet with your group privately. That was the phrase. Now, whether that's all I can tell you is what I heard. And so the preference was to have us participate in this venue for these meetings. Okay. Is that not true? Was that?
I'm just listening.
Oh, okay. I'm all right. Please correct me, because the concern that has, because of that perception, is that to talk about election integrity and transparency conversations can't be done in your offices and should be done here. And that has caused less than satisfaction in these conversations because they turn out not to be conversations. Basically, some requests might be made. Occasionally there may be an answer, but a conversation is typically a give and take. It's a conversation. It's not a presentation per se. And so it kind of gets, so as an example, a few years ago, I asked about a 2% audit being in a hand count, those sorts of things. And there was never really a reply to that presentation and that proposal. So that kind of just, went away due to lack of feedback from the board at that time. So, so I'm hoping that as the world is changing, that this can be more of a, and this is like a big year, as we all know, that this can be more of a conversation than a presentation and a meeting. Long story short, a true meeting where we can participate and not just comment. So I'm hoping that that could be a change and a friendly and open interchange, because we've always been very courteous and kind, and have certainly said that we believe that the Bureau of Elections is doing a terrific job. So that's the past, and that's how we're hoping for the future. There's two things I really wanted to ask about today, and that was the content of my email, where the certifications for the ES&S equipment since 2019. Within that, the stipulation was that it must be a hand count for the recount, for that 2% recount, and that's a requirement, apparently a requirement in order to use that equipment. And so I'm wondering why we were not. And so that's my first item, and perhaps we could address that if that's possible.
Would you like me to respond to that?
Yes.
Yeah, and I'm not sure I understand the question, so.
Oh.
Do you want to, so that Mrs. Fasci is
Yeah. Can you rephrase that, please?
Yes. So our ES&S election equipment is required to be certified as we go through iterations of the equipment by the Department of State. It has to be certified in order to allow us to use it in the counties. Within that certification, there's been 3 certifications since 2019, originally signed by Bookvard, DeGraff and Reed and Chapman, Department of State secretaries. And within that document, it says you must hand count the ballots on the 2% recount as part of the certification of that equipment, meaning this is what allows you to use it. It's been tested. You must hand count.
Thank you for repeating.
The certification Mr. Cobb's referring to states that it's the election code provisions in section 3031.17 that govern the 2% recount provisions. Section 3031.17 of the election code states that the statistical recount of a sample of ballots after each election may occur using manual, mechanical, or electronic devices of a type different than those used for the specific election. As Bethany has stated in prior meetings, whenever she conducts the 2% audit, she uses an electronic device of a type different than that used on the day of the primary of the election. So in adhering to those provisions of the election code, Cumberland County is following this process accurately. I did see Mr. Cobb's email that was sent to the board, and he asked, what is the election code provision that governs in this instance? And again, it's section 3031.17.
Yes, however, if you could please address the equipment certification and the requirements of the certification upon the Bureau of Election within the certification itself.
I believe I did that in my initial answer. Board members, do you have any additional questions, or would you like me to respond further to Mr. Cobb?
I don't have any additional questions.
All right, thank you. Thank you.
Well, and my point is, there are two separate documents that we're talking about that regulate this issue. And the certification is required for the equipment to be used, and the certification as signed by the Department of State, the Secretary of State, says it must be hand counted. Within the certification of in order to use that equipment, you must hand count. So I won't beat it any further, but it says you have.
I remember sitting down with a group in this room.
Yeah.
What did I say to you? I'm going to tell you what I said to you. Every question that you have is part of the election code. And if you have questions, take them to the Department of State, take them to your elected representatives from the state, because they write the code. They've written it. They have all these answers. We are legally sufficient. We follow the code, and that's where we're at. That's it.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. So based on the comments made a moment ago, the 2% recount could in fact be a hand recount per code as just shared with us without any really undue issues, because, and I can save this for our further conversation or a future conversation, but being legally sufficient and addressing the issues that I've discussed in the past with the Rasmussen surveys, the Associated Press surveys that say that 65 to 75% of Pennsylvanians are concerned about the election transparency, that it would be well within the board's ability and rights to provide that 2% recount as a hand recount, as they did in York, which took them approximately an hour for 2 people. So it's not an onerous effort. It's not a difficult process. And we can easily look up York and bring that. I could make a big presentation to you all, and your eyes would probably glaze because it'd be somewhat boring. But it's been done elsewhere. It is currently done elsewhere, and it's done very efficiently and quickly. It's not a big burden. And the value is the transparency and the confidence that it brings within our population, who are in fact concerned about our elections, right? And so it's really to assuage the concerns in that case of your constituents and the people of Cumberland County.
Other public comment or?
Well, actually, I had one more item I wanted to add. At the last Bureau of Elections meeting, I asked about the reconciliation prior to certification. And as part of that request, which was not answered, was to ask if the processes used in Cumberland County for reconciliation could be made publicly available, whether they get posted on the website or posted on the wall of the county, whatever you would deem appropriate. Because as I mentioned then, in 2020, a large number of our elected state representatives were very concerned about a number of counties not reconciling prior to the certification of elections. I'm not saying it was Cumberland, I'm just saying that in general. And so my request was, again, in the interest of transparency and the concerns of many citizens, or majority of citizens, that reconciliation be public, or at least the processes used by the county be public. And if you'd like me to go into detail as to what reconciliation is prior to certification, I'd be happy to do so. And I'm sure Bethany could easily as well. I know she could, she's an expert. But those are the requests. Those are really the two requests. And if it's not an answer you can provide today, I then humbly request that you speak amongst it or add it as new business so that it can be a public discussion. I would think that should be the least level, would be at least a public discussion of these requests. Even if you say, no, we're not going to do it. But it would be nice to understand what's why and wherefore.
Anyone want to make comment to the reconciliation?
I don't think there's a need to be honest with you. I mean, we've heard the public comment, the public opinion. I think we can move on.
Anyone else want to make public comment? Oh, we have two.
Richard Snyder, Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania. The increased security at the logic and accuracy testing was noted and appreciated. Thank you.
That's your comment,
Oh,
Richard?
yeah, I just wish more people participate, but that's beside the point.
Yeah, thank you for that.
James Evans, Carlisle Borough. Just a general statement, which maybe everyone in this room is kind of aware, and if not. And I know it's at a county level, but we need to address it at all levels. We're losing our country because of corruption from the local to the national level. That's not leveled at anybody in this room, but it's an observation. I ran for Carlisle Borough Council. I walk the streets on a daily basis. I talk to people. That's what I'm hearing on the street. People are fed up. People are struggling. There's poverty across this county. There's poverty in this borough, extreme poverty, drugs. And people are trying to bring things up, whether it's election integrity, they have issues with that. They have issues with the economic well-being of this county and whether people are doing the right thing. And when we come to meetings, we're trying to interact with folks, but then it becomes almost like, well, we got to go through a lawyer because we're afraid to say something. That's not how representative government is supposed to be. We're supposed to be here to have a conversation about things that are easy to talk about and things that are extremely difficult to talk about. And the reason that I'm coming here is because there's a day of reckoning coming down the pike if we don't start getting back to what our founders intended in this country. And that's to have a true, honest conversation about fixing problems and not trying to hide anything, being honest about things. So that's what I'm coming to you here as an American sitting here. And I love this state, I love this country, I love this county. And I know some of these things are inconvenient that people bring up, but we need to interact and talk, put party aside, forget about ideology. We need to start having honest conversations to fix things, to take us that much further into the future. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, James. Anyone else in the room want to make public comment?
John Lencioni, Silver Springs Township. I'd like to, Mr. Cobb reminded me of something, and I'd like to ask if our machines have been certificated yet. If I understand correctly, they were never certificated. And that is looked at by an independent organization to make sure that they are up to snuff and there's no illegal software on them. And if they haven't been, will they be before this election? And the other thing that I'd like to ask is, do we use Albert sensors in our elections?
Mr. Lencioni, I'm unable to answer those questions, but I'll ask if our council would choose to or not at this time.
I don't know what you might be able to answer, but I don't know what an Albert sensor is.
As far as the voting machines, they have to be certified by the federal government and by the state government. And if they are touched by any sort of third party, like we found out in Fulton County, the machines will then be decertified and we have to buy new equipment.
And ours have not been touched by any third party.
No,
And we have discussed this
correct. Yeah, because
many, many times.
yes.
I mean, I know I wasn't on the Board of Elections last year, but I think we discussed it
Many times.
tremendous number of times in prior years.
And to the second question about the scanners or,
I'm unaware of what an Albert sensor is.
I can share more with you in executive session. It's a security issue, so I can
Okay.
certainly share some more
Thank you.
information.
thank you.
Can you answer my question whether we use them or
He's
not?
not,
I can't.
he's not permitted to do that at this time. So
Can someone get back to me with whether we use them or not?
I don't think that we should commit to anything security related as it relates to the election until we understand what that is, because at this juncture, sir, I don't know what that security concern may be for us with the upcoming election. I can't answer something I don't know the ramifications of at this point. And Mr. Cobb, to your questions about a dialogue, I am new to the board, and my colleague has indicated a lot of these questions have been brought and answered, and I don't have that background. So I am relying upon the counsel that we provide if we have answered the questions satisfactorily before. So I appreciate your presence. I appreciate everyone bringing their concerns. And we are going to have an executive session if we are able to address some of those, which we will discuss one of the items you brought up, Mr. Lencioni, in that session.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else online that would like to make public comment? They should raise their hand, if so.
There's one individual online, a Gary Krups, but he is not indicated. He has not raised his hand yet.
Okay. All right. Having gone through public comment, we will move into the approval of the meeting minutes from the April 1st meeting.
I'll move to approve.
It's moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Unopposed. Next is the discussion and approval of the pool of poll workers for the 2024 general primary.
Yes. So this is the list of individuals who are willing to go anywhere in the county as we need them. So they are incredibly helpful to us. So this is just for you to approve that they are able to work and work anywhere in the county as opposed to just their home precinct.
As a process, do you provide them with documentation so that if they show up at any poll, they have proper documentation?
Yes.
To be there?
Yes.
Okay. Like a poll certificate.
Yes,
certificate.
similar, but yes.
That's
Yeah.
a little bit different. Okay. Would anyone like to make a motion? to Accept that?
The whole pool of poll workers, the general primary as presented.
I second.
It's moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. And your update, Bethany.
Just a couple of things. I did just lay there before you the voter registration statistics, the certified statistics for the 2024 presidential primary. So just because I'll say it out loud, we have 178,851 registered voters in Cumberland County. 61,074 are Democratic voters, 87,936 are Republican voters, and 29,841 are other party. Okay. And next, our mail ballot update. So mail-in and absentee ballots. We mailed out, the deadline was Tuesday to apply. We mailed out a total of 18,806 mail-in and or absentee ballots. 12,141 of those were Democratic ballots, 6,661 were Republican ballots, and ballots returned so far, 10,439, 6,633 of those were Democratic ballots, and 3,806 of those were Republican. And just a couple of reminders, we are open tonight until 7 p.m. for people to drop off their ballots. And also Saturday, we are open from 9 in the morning until 1 in the afternoon for ballot drop off. Ballots are due election day by 8 p.m. and we are open, our office is open on April 23rd from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m., just like the polling places are open for voters to drop off their ballots. Ballots must be returned to our office. They cannot be returned to your polling location. Just as a reminder. And also our canvass procedures for election day have been posted on our website. So we will begin the pre-canvass of mail-in and absentee ballots at 7 a.m. We will begin posting results of the mail-in and absentee ballots after 8 o'clock, after the polls close at 8 p.m. Okay, and those procedures are on our website. As usual, we'll be using county employees. We put out our ask for help and they quickly filled up. So we have plenty of help. As always, county employees are just amazing at coming together and helping us with this process. So yeah.
And members of the public are free to view the canvassing of those ballots.
Absolutely. Yeah. Until the process is over. Yep. And that's all I have.
All right. Right now we will, we have a request for executive session, so we will be moving into that.
If you do that,
Do we want to move in now or no?
it's the board's discretion. I don't anticipate a need for action on behalf of the board afterwards. So I would defer to you if you would like to. Yes.
We'll roll through. Okay. So I'll report the executive session was held on April 1st at 10 a.m. Regarding pending litigation and security. Is there any other business to come before the board at this time? Hearing none, accept a motion for adjournment. So moved. We are adjourned and we will go into executive session. Thank you.